What is up, you guys? Dennis Garcia here. How the fuck are you guys doing? Happy 2019. I'm currently moisturizing. I don't know if you guys can tell. I mean, obviously, if I'm touching my face this much, something's going on. But I just got out of the shower and I washed my body with Irish Spring, and I also washed my face with Irish Spring because it smells really fucking good. And that soap is a little bit drying, so I like to moisturize and make sure that my skin is nice and glowy for the day. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Hi guys, how are you? Happy 2019, guys. This is my first video back into the YouTube world. My first official video back, I suppose, where like I'm on camera talking to you guys in the new year. If you guys aren't aware, I did post a brand new video on my channel. The first official video of 2019, and it was the first episode of my series, Life at 25. If you guys have not seen it, I'll put a little annotation, a little card right up here, and I'll also put a link down in the description box below in case it doesn't pop up for you for any reason. The link to that video will be down in the description box below. It is my new series, Life at 25. It is going to be an 8-episode series on my entire life. So if you guys want to watch it and are interested to find out how this shit happened, then click the link below or click the little card annotation link. So for today's video is going to be uncut, it's going to be unedited, it is going to be raw, and it is going to be probably one of the hardest videos that I have ever had to make. Disclaimer, I am sick, which is why my voice sounds like this, and I'll probably be doing this for the whole video because like my nose is all plugged up, and like I went exercising in the rain like a fucking dumbass, and that's what happens whenever you run in the rain or exercise in the rain. I don't run, what am I saying? You get sick, so I'm sick. And also, I wanna be multitasking. I'm gonna be trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm also gonna be applying for jobs because I have a lot to update you guys. We have a lot to talk about. So if you wanna grab yourself some food, if you wanna eat while you watch, this is gonna be an extremely long video, maybe an hour, maybe more, around that time frame. But to begin, as you guys may or may not know, if you watch my videos last year, I signed up for college, community college, and I started said community college on Monday. And so I've been going to school all this week, and it's been amazing, but I had to quit my job because they wouldn't approve my schedule to go to school. So I had to quit my job to be able to go to school because like, as much as I need money and as much as I need to pay my bills, I also got to think about my future. And I also got to think of like, I can't stay at this job forever when I could have been at school going for something that could help me in the future. And so I figured, you know what the fuck? Let's just quit our job, focus on school for now. Luckily, I did have some cash saved up from my job, as well as like financial aid has been assisting me in paying my bills. So that's been really awesome. But I need extra cash. I want to go out and travel. I want to go out and party. I want to do a bunch of shit that requires more money, and I don't have more money. So we need to find a part-time job at least. But I've been going to school. I'm going to school for psychology, which is really fucking awesome. One, because I feel like, I just hit puberty. I feel like I have a lot of unresolved issues that I'm dealing with in my own personal life, as far as like my stutter, my 3 fingers, a lot of insecurities and a lot of issues that I want to kind of learn the source from it. I want to like learn where it all began, how it all started, how I can fix it. And not only that, I want to help people, you know, I'm not entirely sure what field of psychology I want to get into. I don't know whether it's going to be like social work or like psychiatrist or what field I want to exactly get into. But it's a good start. I've learned a lot so far. We've only had 2 classes, but I have learned a lot. And so I'm gonna not be looking at the camera a lot because I'm gonna be applying for jobs, but I'll like do this every now and then so you guys can see my beautiful sick face. But I hope that you guys are having something delicious for me because I'm fucking starving and I just got out of the shower, so like I haven't gone to eat. It's currently 10:47 a.m. It should be breakfast time. I should be eating breakfast, but I don't really eat breakfast. I rarely eat twice a day. I usually only eat once a day, which I know is like bad, but it's something that I've done since high school, so like I'm used to it. So essentially for today's video, guys, today's video is going to essentially be the last video of the series. I decided to talk about this now, then hold off on talking about it until the end, because it's been sitting in my brain and in my mind for the last 2 years. And I don't want to say it's been like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it hasn't been killing me inside to not talk about it, but I feel like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to like multitask. I feel like I'm ready to talk about this now. For like the longest time, I wasn't really ready to talk about this because I was ashamed and I was embarrassed and I was heartbroken. And I feel like now that I've had some time to process everything and I've had time to like, I guess, heal, I feel like it is a good time to talk about this. And I know like a lot of you would say like, why would you want to talk about your ex? That was 2 years ago. Like, it's in the past, it's in the past. But unfortunately, guys, heartbreak doesn't go away easily. Sad feelings and things like that regarding exes that you truly love don't really just go away like that. And pain and heartbreak, unfortunately, are a real thing that continue to follow you for a really, really long time. And like, I can go out with a bunch of guys and I can go on dates and I can see somebody seriously, but in the back of my head, I'm still thinking about my ex and about how he broke my heart and how I don't know if I can ever trust somebody again. So even though you as a person may think like that was so long ago, like who the fuck cares? To a lot of us, this is still an ongoing issue that still hurts a little bit. And so I really wanted to talk about the whole entire story of me and my ex, because while I have touched up on it in the past, I've never really sat down and like actually talked to you guys about it. The whole entire story of everything. And so that's what we're gonna do today. So this is essentially the last episode of Life at 25. So it's gonna be a little bit of a mismatch order, but it's gonna be a really long video and it's going to be full of me talking. And if you have food, I hope you're eating. And yeah, so let's just get started with the video. Yeah, okay. So the story begins on August 2014. I had just gotten out of a 4.5-year relationship with another one of my exes. We were engaged and we both mutually agreed that we weren't right for each other. So we both broke up. We went our separate ways. And I didn't really take time to process that breakup. Within like a couple of days, I was already on Tinder. And this was the first time that I had ever been on Tinder. I've never been on an online dating site at the time. So this was the first time that I had gone on Tinder and actually like gotten a feel for what the whole new online dating world was. And a couple of days went by, nothing really came out of it until one day I matched with my now ex-boyfriend. And so we matched. I believe I was the one who like messaged him first, and we started talking. And from like on paper, he seemed really, really fucking amazing. He seemed perfect. He was talkative. He was cute. Like, he was tall. On paper, he was perfect for me. And so we talked for a couple of days. We exchanged phone numbers. And then around the beginning of September, we went out on our very first date. And I remember picking him up. I remember this clearly, even though it was like 5 years ago. So I picked him up from his grandma's house. And so he is originally from Ohio, and he had been in Phoenix for like a year or 2 years at that point. And he still lived with his grandma. And I live with my parents because after I got out of that 4.5 year relationship, I didn't really have a place to go. I didn't have a job. I came from Tempe all the way back to my parents' house, which is like far. And so my life at that point was just in shambles, and it still was. But anyways, so we went out on a date. I believe we went to the movies, and we saw Resident Evil 6 or 7. We saw one of the last Resident Evils. And like, you can tell from the first date that he was extremely nervous. He was like shaking, his hands were shaking, he was anxious, and like while I was afraid too and like nervous and shit, like I don't know, I try to hide the fact that I'm afraid. I try to hide the fact that I'm like nervous or anxious. And I like, with me, I'm the type of person that'll comfort you if you're afraid or scared while I'm still afraid or scared. But like, one of us has got to be like the strong one. And I feel like for relationships, that's always been me. So anyways, we go on our date. It's amazing. It's fun. And then after that date, we go to downtown Phoenix and we take a walk. We have some coffee and we're like talking. We're having an amazing time. And then at the end of the night, I decide to go in for the kiss. And we kiss and like sparks fly, whatever. And over the course of those couple of days, we go out on dates, we go to the park. Things that I love to do, like going to the park and like having a picnic or just walking around. I don't really give a shit what we do when it comes to like dates. If I like you, then I enjoy spending time with you, no matter if that's sitting down in a bench on a bus stop. I don't fucking care. As long as I get a chance to be with you, like what we do on that date, I don't give a shit. And on September the 14th, I officially asked him to be my boyfriend. And he said yes. And so September 14th, 2014, we officially started dating. And so over the course of those couple of months, we got to know each other. We became closer. We became a couple. And around December of 2014, we started discussing moving in together, which I know, looking back at it now, that was like a huge red flag for both of us because we both agreed to this. But we loved each other, or we liked each other a lot, and we wanted to just live with each other. And so we went apartment hunting in January, found a place. It was this cute little ghetto ass small apartment, but I loved it. It was my favorite apartment ever. It was ghetto. It had cockroaches. Like, it was bad, but it was cheap, and it was our first apartment, and it was cute. It was quaint. It fit the both of us perfectly. And in February of 2015, we officially had moved into our new apartment. Now, this is where a lot of the red flags from the both of us started coming out. I'm not gonna say that like, that I was perfect. I definitely was very clingy. I still had not gotten over my own shit with my ex, and he had his issues too. So upon moving into our new apartment, I had realized that he had like really severe anxiety. He had really severe social anxiety. He had bad anxiety in general, to the point where he was taking prescription pills for it. He was taking, prescriptions like medical marijuana. He was taking like pants. He was doing a lot of stuff, acupuncture and things like that. So his thing was like a real thing. And while I had social anxiety, it was mostly when it came to like social events. So if I had to go to like a family party, or if I had to be around people, or if I had to do a presentation, like that's when it hits me. When I'm at home, I feel like like I'm in a safe place. And so I'm the type of person that like when I clean, I like to have every door open, every fucking window. Like I like to feel the fresh air coming in, and I like to listen to like music and shit. And he would always close every door, close every window, close every blind, and tell me to turn down, you know, the stuff that I was like, turn down the stuff that I was listening to because it was too loud, and he was embarrassed. And so it started with that, and then it slowly kept progressing to like him not really giving me affection anymore. And it got to the point where like I had to beg him essentially to fuck me, which I know is like TMI for some of you guys, and if this is TMI, click off. We are going to be discussing sex. So essentially at the beginning of the whole relationship, before we officially moved in, we would have sex every single time we saw each other. Either I would blow him or he'd fuck me. Something happened. So whenever we officially moved in, I had it in my head that like, I still want to fuck you. I still want you to make love to me and give me affection and like love me. And I figured like that would transition over from the dating onto like us living together. But it didn't. So for months I had to like beg him to like fuck me. And one thing that like really fucked with me and fucked with my head, and like it still hurts, is when he told me that he's never once made love to me. So all this time I had been thinking like, oh, we're making love, he's fucking me, he's making love to me. This entire time, in the entire relationship, and I'm telling you, the 2.5 years that we were together, he never once made love to me. And at first, during the relationship, I didn't believe him. I was like blinded by this like love that I had. And looking back at it now, he's right. I picture all the times we've had sex, and he's never once kissed me during sex, and if he did, it was forced. We've never like made out. He never took control of me during sex and like made me feel his. And I was the only one who ever, I guess, did stuff, whoever like started it. Like honestly guys, I used to be a very sexual person, still am in a sense, but I used to be very horny for him specifically. I was obsessed with him. I was in love with him. And so any chance I could to like please him, I would like literally wake him up with blowjobs. I would get on top of him, ride him, and do things to him. And then he would just like lay there and just not do anything back. And after a while, like it got kind of shitty, and it got sucky to have to beg somebody to fuck you and not even make love to you, because at this point he was not making love to me, and he made it very clear. A couple of other things that happened in that whole entire relationship is that he didn't really like my family. And that was a huge setback for me, because I am a huge family person. Like I love my family. I love my parents and my brothers and my sister-in-law, and like they're important to me. They're an important part of my life, and like I spend a lot of time with them. We have like family dinners sometimes. We go out to eat with them. We do stuff together. We go to the park and we play Pokemon Go. Like we do shit together. So when my ex was very resistant to going to these events or these holiday parties, it kind of made me feel bad, because like family is something that I value. And he would come occasionally to these things, but he would only spend like an hour or two, an hour max. If it was like Christmas or Thanksgiving, he would spend like 2 hours max. And then he'd be like, okay, I want to go home now. And so I either had to give him the car to go home, or I would have to go home with him so that I wouldn't have to inconvenience him by having to come pick me back up, or having to ask my parents to drop me back off to our apartment. And so oftentimes I would go home with him from these family events where we had just gotten there an hour or two beforehand. And so it got to the point where he just kind of stopped coming. He stopped coming to all of the events, and I would have to just make excuses to why he wasn't there. So either he had to go to work late, he had plans. He never went out whenever we were together. So anytime I would want to go out to like a club or to a bar or to go have a few drinks or go have dinner or go dance. I love to dance. Like dancing is one of the things that like I love doing. He would always be like, "Oh, I don't want to go out. No, I'm good." So essentially he spent our whole entire like relationship home. And I guess that had to do something with his anxiety and shit, and like I got that. So he did, like, I don't want to say he allowed me to, because our whole relationship was never about controlling each other. Like we let each other do whatever. Like if for example, if I was interested in going out to the bar with friends, he'd be okay with it. If I was interested in going out to a house party at my friend's house, he was fine with it. And like I would be open and honest with him and be like, yeah, I was like, I went to the bar with my friend Juan and we danced together, we had a few drinks. And like, I'm the type of person that like, I'm super honest with you, I'm super open with you. If I have an issue with you, I want to talk to you about it, I want to fix it, I want to work things out, at least in that time that we're fighting. He, on the other hand, was not interested in ever having any sort of conversation where we would fix things. He was very kept in. He didn't really like talking about his own personal issues. And I get that there are different people, and there are some people who can openly talk about their feelings, and there are other people who it takes them like a little push to like even remotely give me a little bit of something about what is going on. And so that was another thing, another huge deal breaker that I had in that relationship. And eventually I started to get depressed and I started to get anxious. And it got to the point where like I couldn't even get out of bed to go to my job, to make money, to pay the bills, to pay the rent, because that is how fucking depressed I was in this whole relationship. And I felt like I couldn't get out of it because I was in love with him. And I thought, you know, things are gonna change. He's gonna change. He's gonna see how I treat him and how amazing I think and how highly I think of him, and things are gonna get better. And honestly, you can even ask him. If any of you know him personally and are watching this video and you want to fucking know, you can even ask him. I would treat him like a king. Like, I would call him or text him and I'd be like, hey, are you hungry? Do you want anything to eat? And I would be literally on the other side of town. But if he was hungry and he wanted lunch, I would literally go to his favorite lunch place, get him lunch, drive all the way to his work, and bring him lunch multiple times a week. Coffee. I have a call. Coffee, food, like snacks, anything he wanted, I would bring it to him like this. If it was at his job, if it was at home and I was not home, but I had the time to stop by and get him something, I would. And all I asked for in return was affection and for him to show me that he loved me. Like, I was not interested in anything that he had to offer physically, like money. Whatever he had that was physical, I didn't care for it. All I wanted was his affection and his time. And there was a couple of like defining moments towards the end where I really was just like, this is not somebody that I can be with anymore. Like, there was this time where I had gotten off my job. I was really kind of sad and tired and depressed, of course. And we had plans to go to the store to go buy food. So as I'm approaching the bus stop to our house, I text them and I was like, hey, do you mind coming to the bus stop and meeting me there, because I would really want to see you as soon as I got off the bus stop, and I want to see your face. And I don't think that that's a difficult request to ask for. He was literally, okay, so the bus stop is on one corner, and he said that I guess he was gonna be on the other corner across the street at a different store, and that's where he would wait for me. And I didn't really think it was asking too much of him to just walk across the street, meet me at the bus stop, so that he was the first person I saw upon getting off that bus stop, because I was having a really shitty day. I'm sure I was having anxiety issues. My stuttering was picking up that day. Like, I know that there was something wrong where I was just emotionally drained, and all I really wanted was to see my boyfriend. And he reluctantly showed up, and when he showed up to the bus stop, he was just pissed. He was pissed and angry, and I don't know, it was, that was one of those things that defined the kind of person that he was, and the kind of person that I figured I did not want to be with. But still, I stayed with him because I was blinded by love and blinded by everything. And then, so I want to say around the spring of 2015, my dad had an accident. And he had an accident at his job that caused him to just go downhill, you know, physically, mentally, and essentially he ended up in the hospital for many months. He started having kidney failure. He started having to go to dialysis like multiple times a week. And that time was a really hard time for me and my family. And throughout the whole process, he didn't once like ask, you know, how's your family? How are you? How is everything? He was very selfish, and he only really cared about shit that benefited him. And there was this one other time that really killed me, and my dad, this was November of 2015, I believe. Yeah, I think it was. And my dad, he was at a place where like he could potentially die. He had literally months to fucking, I'm getting like nervous and I'm like stuttering and I'm getting anxious, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to like breathe, but it's like really emotional, and I'm just like thinking back on all this shit, and like it really hurts still. I'm gonna try to talk. I'm gonna try to relax. Guys, this is the shit that I go through whenever I film like these type of things. I get really like nervous, and I get really like too up in my own head, and like start stuttering, and like I have to start over. But you know what? We're not starting over, because this is me. This is me. I stutter sometimes. And yeah, so anyways, my dad ended up in the hospital, and he had a few months or a year to two to live. He was close to death. And one day on his birthday, on 2015, he got a call that morning on his birthday that somebody had died from a motorcycle accident, and that they had kidneys for him. So that day, we all dropped everything. Everyone in the family dropped everything. My brothers, my sister-in-law, my mom, we all dropped everything. We were there as a family, as a unit, and we all were there. And so my dad was in the hospital for about 5 or 6 days, and he was there up until Thanksgiving. So we celebrated Thanksgiving in the hospital. My ex did not show up once to any of those doctor's appointments. One, because I got tired of asking him to like be there for me. So I just kind of made it a point to be there for myself and be there for my family. And two, because he didn't show up at all. And like, for me, if my partner's family was in the hospital, you don't even have to ask me twice. You don't have to ask me to go. I would go on my own. I would be there. But different people grow up differently, and maybe he just didn't think about it. I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I'm just trying to think of his thought process throughout the whole situation. But so yeah, we spend Thanksgiving in the hospital, and he does come for that. Because obviously it's a big holiday, a big family holiday. He didn't really have anybody here besides his grandma. And his grandma is like the coolest fucking chick ever. She goes out and travels a lot. So on like Thanksgiving and Christmases, she'd be out in like Flagstaff or Las Vegas or like California. And so since he didn't have anybody, maybe he felt forced to be around me. I don't know. A lot of stuff like starting to make sense. And so anyways, so we spent Thanksgiving at the hospital. We literally spent maybe an hour or two, and then he texts me and he's like, hey, I want to go home. I'm bored. I don't want to be here anymore. And usually whenever I spend holidays with my family, holidays like parties and things like that, I'm fine with like, let's go home early. If you want to go, it's fine. But holidays, I usually spend hours with my family. And so he had kind of separated himself from the family. So we were all in the hospital room. And it was this huge room that my dad got all to himself, and we had like a table and everything. And so once we were done with our food, we were all still on the table talking, and he like separated himself and went to the other side of the hospital room and just was kind of on his phone, sat on his phone the entire time. And he texted me and he was like, hey, I want to go home. And the drive from the hospital to my apartment was like a good 40 minutes. So I didn't want to have him pick me up after. I didn't want to have to ask, especially like my mom, to drive me back to the apartment when she was at the hospital for my dad. And I didn't want to inconvenience my brother and my sister-in-law by also having them take me to the other side of town when they had to go to the other side of town. So I reluctantly left with him 2 hours after we got there, and we went back home. During that time, I did something fucked up that I shouldn't have. And excuse me, the fact that I allowed someone to get me to this place shows you how deep into my depression and how in the rock bottom I was, that I started cheating on him. This was March of 2016. I started cheating on him. And it took a good year and a half for it to happen. But it got to the point where like I didn't want to beg him anymore to fuck me. I didn't want to beg for his affection anymore. I didn't want anything from him. And so I went on Craigslist. I posted a personals ad and I found somebody to fuck me. And while he didn't give me love or affection, it was a stranger that became a fuck buddy, but he made me feel wanted. He made me feel hot and sexy. And even though this was just a fuck, like we both knew we were two strangers who were just pleasing each other. We were both aware of the situation, and we were both okay with essentially being used, but we still felt wanted by each other. And that was one of the defining moments in the relationship where I was like, fuck, my boyfriend doesn't love me, and yet this stranger is fucking me like he means it. And over the course of those months leading up to my 25th birthday, I would continue to fuck him. You know, every time that my boyfriend would be at work or at his grandma's or wherever else and he was not home, I would bring the guy over and we'd fuck. I would go over to his house and fuck when my boyfriend was home and he didn't want to fuck me. And I became a really shitty, toxic person. And I'm not saying that it's okay that I did that. And I'm not making any excuses to why I did it. But I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for cheating on him because he made me feel like shit. The only thing that I feel bad about is the fact that I allowed him to let myself do that to somebody. Because I'm not that person. I'm not a cheater. I'm not unfaithful. But when you get beaten down and you get, not physically, when you get beaten down mentally and emotionally and you're told constantly that you're too extra or you're too loud or tone it down or don't talk to me, you start feeling like fucking shit and you start looking for it in other places. Granted, I could have easily been like, okay, fuck you. Let's break up. I hate you. I don't want to be with you anymore. But it's really hard to do that. And to be honest, until you're in my position or you've been in a similar position, you don't really know how hard it is to just up and walk away because you've built this life and you're hoping for the best. And while you're doing some shitty ass fucking shit in the process, you're still hoping for the best. And so on my 25th birthday, my parents took me out to eat and he reluctantly came as well because it's my birthday and I guess he wanted to make me feel special, but he didn't really want to be around my family, and I could tell, my family could tell. And so it was like, it's my birthday, fuck you. If you don't want to be around my family, you can go home. So he left and I stayed with them and we spent the whole fucking day together. It was amazing. We went out to like to Tempe. We like walked around. We went to go eat candy. We went to go get froyo. Like, it was amazing. I had a fun time. And then when I got home in the apartment, he asked me, he was like, hey, do you want to go take a walk around the park? And I was just like, no, I don't want to do anything with you right now. I want to stay in bed. I want to stay home. I want to watch TV. And I just want to have an end to this fun day with my family, but shitty day with you. And then he got down on his knees and he proposed to me. And I was very confused because that whole day he treated me like shit. And then I get home and he tries to be this romantic person who like proposes to me. And of course I, like an idiot, burst out crying and I'm like, yes, I will marry you. And so I post about it on Facebook and everybody knows. And I think to myself, yeah, he's gonna change. He's really gonna change this time. He proposed to me. He loves me. He truly loves me. And then a few weeks went by. We celebrated our 2-year anniversary and things just went back downhill to how they were. And I went back to fucking the guy that I was fucking over the spring. And it wasn't until November that I had a mental breakdown. So at this point, I had already turned 25. I had a mental breakdown at my job. I started sobbing and crying uncontrollably. And this is what I like to call my quarter life crisis and why my series is called Life at 25. And it's because of this moment after I turned 25, my life just kind of went down the shitter, even more than it already was. I couldn't handle my job anymore. I couldn't handle my relationship anymore. I couldn't handle the situation not getting better. And so I talked to my job, I talked to my cousin, and my job was fine with me taking time off. They were like, you know what, we appreciate you as an employee and we don't want to see you go. So what can we do in order to make you stay? And I was like, I just need some time off to reflect on my life and where I am and what I'm doing, and I just need some time off. And they were amazing enough and they allowed me to take a month off. And then I called my cousin Lauren and I told her, I was like, hey, do you mind if I can go to California and just take a break from life here and stay with you for like a month? And my cousin, if you don't know my cousin, Lauren is my fucking sister. She is my sister from another mister. She's literally my twin. She's my best friend. She is somebody that I would take a bullet for. And we've been close ever since birth, ever since I was 1 and she was like 10 months old, 6 months old. I don't fucking know how old she was. But we've been close forever. And so she was like, yeah, do you want me to pick you up? And I was like, can you? And so she drove all the way from Long Beach to come pick me up that day that I called her. And so I talked to my boyfriend at the time and we kind of took a break. We didn't break up, but I was like, look, I am really depressed. I am not happy with where I am in life and I just need to find my place. And I'm gonna be gone for a month and I think we should take a break. And he was like, okay, that's cool. What about the bills? And I was like, look, so at my job, we have this like structure where like you can get bonuses and like a lot of cash for doing the sales and shit. So I was on my ass for like weeks doing sales and doing promotions and upgrades and all that fucking shit to where I had saved up around $3,500 for my break. And so I told him, I was like, look, all of the bills are gonna be taken care of, all of the stuff's gonna be taken care of, I'm just gonna be gone. I was like, so here is cash for food, here is the cash for the portion of the apartment that I have to pay, and I will be back in maybe a month. And he was like, okay, cool. So that's how we ended it. She picked me up. She picked me up at like, I want to say 11 o'clock at night that day, and we drove back immediately after. Like she probably was in Phoenix for like a good hour, and then around like 12, 1 o'clock, she fell asleep in the passenger seat, and I drove all the way to Long Beach. And we didn't get to Long Beach until like 6 a.m. that morning. And we stopped by for breakfast at this place called Polly's Pies, something like that. And I remember feeling happy. I remember for the first time in a long time feeling okay and feeling like I was in the place where I belonged. And so I spent that whole day just happy and feeling free and feeling like myself again, because for the longest time I didn't feel like me. I didn't feel like the person I was before I met my ex. My ex at that point. But then nightfall came, and as I was trying to sleep in the bed with my cousin, I couldn't sleep. And I just kept thinking about how I fucking fucked this relationship up, and how I fucked up my job, and how I fucked up my house, and how I fucked everything up, and how could I break up with an amazing person like him. And so at 1 o'clock in the morning, I call him, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I was like literally crying on the phone. I was like, I'm sorry. Can we get back together? I miss you. I don't want to break up with you. I don't know what I was thinking. And he was like, yeah, of course, we can get back together. He was like, so what's going to happen now? Are you still going to be there? And I was like, I'm not sure yet. I'll keep you updated. He was like, I love you. I was like, I love you too. And then we hung up. And the plan was for me to continue to stay there, even after we had gone back together. But I couldn't. I felt like I really needed to be home. I felt like I needed to be with him. So my cousin was asleep during this whole fucking thing. She had no idea. For her, she still thought I was still gonna be there. So 5 o'clock rolls around, and I stupidly buy a one-way ticket for a flight that same day to go back to Phoenix. So the flight was at 10 o'clock. I bought the flight at 5 o'clock. It cost me well over $400 for a one-way, same-day flight to Phoenix. And so I paid it, whatever. And I wake up my cousin and I'm like, hey, I'm leaving. I have to go back home. And I was like bawling my eyes out and I was crying. And then she started to cry. And she was like, I just want you to be you again. I want you to be happy and okay. And if this is what you have to do, then go ahead. And so I did. I called an Uber, who then took me to I think it was LAX, and I waited for 3 hours for the plane to leave. Now, I didn't tell my ex that I was coming back home. So 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock comes around, I hop on the plane, half an hour after I'm in Phoenix, and I take an Uber back to my apartment. At this time, it's like 11 o'clock, around there, 11:30, and my ex isn't home yet. And so I thought that I would surprise him by surprising him at home, because I thought it'd be cute. I thought after this like talk we had on the phone was the start of like another new beginning. So he gets home around like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he opens the door, and I had surprised him with all his like favorite things, like his favorite candy, his favorite flowers, a card. Like I brought him like the small things that like he enjoys. And so he opens the door and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I came back for you." And he goes, "Oh, well, nobody asked you to." And I've never felt more like fucking shit than I did at that point in time. And we stayed together. Aside from all that, I still stayed with him. And we stayed together for about another 2 to 3 weeks. And then on December the 5th, I officially ended it. December 5th of 2016, I officially ended this thing we had. And we stayed in the apartment together for a month after. We were already like broken up. But the plan was for me to have the apartment and he would leave and find a different place to live. So even though we had broken up, we had agreed that essentially I would have the apartment. So our contract for the apartment didn't end until February. So once we broke up in December, we had an additional 2 months left to live together. And after the first month, I was just like, yeah, no, can't do it. It was extremely difficult to be in the same house with him and not be able to kiss him, not be able to touch him, not be able to make love to him, not be able to be a couple. And it's funny because this tiny house that at the beginning was perfect for us became the tiny house from fucking hell. And we had no escape from each other. Like I would get home from my job and I would have the house to myself, and then he'd get home and I would run out the door and go do something else, go to a park, go eat. I literally could not be in the same house as him. And so then 1 month passed by and it was January the 5th and I couldn't do it anymore. I told him, I was like, "Look, I'm miserable. I hate the fact that we're not together anymore, and I can't live in this apartment with you knowing that I can't have you. So I have to leave. I know we have like a month left in our apartment." And like I told him straight up, I was like, "You've hurt me a lot and I feel like I just need to do things on my own. And I'm not gonna pay you for the apartment for the part that I have to pay you for, because I need that to get by until I find a job." And basically he told me, "Well, get the fuck out. Grab your shit now and get the fuck out." And so I did. I packed everything that belonged to only me, which was my clothes, my shoes. Everything else that we had gotten together, I let him just have all of it. So the TVs, the couches, the tables, the furniture, everything that we had accumulated as a couple, I just let him keep. And I took what I owned, which was just my shoes and my shirt and pictures of my friends and just anything that was mine. And so I called my sister-in-law and I explained to her the situation, and she picked me up and oh fuck. And I grabbed my bags, and I remember this clearly. I grabbed two trash bags full of my shit. And I remember just putting them in the back trunk and closing the door and getting in the passenger seat, and my sister-in-law asking me if I'm okay, and me just like breaking down. And I had a the biggest breakdown that I ever had. Like, I couldn't breathe. I was crying like I've never ever cried before. Like, I was yelling, crying. And it sucked. It sucked because I thought that this was the guy that I was going to marry. This was the guy that I was gonna have kids with. This was the guy that I was gonna this was the guy that I was going to travel the world with together. And it didn't end up like that. And it sucked. So that night, after being at my parents' house for a few hours, I decided that I couldn't be in Phoenix anymore. I didn't want to be in Phoenix anymore. And so I called my cousin up, and unfortunately, there was a death in my dad's side of the family. So my parents were going to go to California anyways. I couldn't put my cousin through picking me up again only for me to come back. So on the 6th of January, no, I'm sorry, on the 8th of January, my parents and I packed up the car and they dropped me off in California, where my cousin then picked me up, and I spent the next year and a half in California. And it was one of the worst and one of the best moments in my life, because I got to experience the worst heartbreak of my life. I've never felt so broken and so beaten and at rock bottom. And looking back at it now, I appreciate it. I appreciate how he broke me, because I now know that I never want to do this to anybody. That I don't want to be the cause of somebody's pain or somebody's heartbreak. And I'm appreciative at the fact that he didn't love me truly, that he never once made love to me, so that when it does happen to me, when I do find the correct person, my best friend and my partner in life, I know what to look out for. I know that this is not what love feels like, that this isn't how I'm supposed to feel in a relationship, that even though we're both grown adults and we both have our own lives, that you want to be a part of my life, and you want to be a part of my family, and you want to be a part of me, and you want to build a team with me, and you want to build something with me. And I spent a year and a half in Cali from 2017 January up until August of 2018. And throughout that whole entire time, I took care of myself. I took care of my mental health, my physical health, and my emotional health. And I started exercising, and I lost 50 pounds. So right now I'm gaining it back a little bit because I'm not exercising as much. I still exercise every day, but I'm not really, I'm not really having the healthiest food lately. But it's because I'm happy. I'm happy with where I am in life, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So I started exercising. I lost 50 pounds. And so now I'm at around like 220, 225 now, which is not where I want to be, but it's not where I was. When I was with my ex, I was probably at 280. So I feel like I'm in a good place. I feel good in my body. I feel good with me exercising. I've been exercising now for a year and a half, and I do it 5 days a week for 5 miles. I'll either jog, walk, or I'll do some sort of cardio, and I feel good. Exercising has really helped me feel better about myself and feel happier and, get my mind off of things. I haven't really felt sad in such a long time, because when you exercise, you're sweating and you're getting your adrenaline pumping and you're feeling good. And so I started exercising. Amongst that whole year and a half that I was in California was like literally the most rock bottomest that I have ever been. I did a lot of really bad shit. I slept with a lot of people, a lot. I was in a horrible place while trying to get to a better place. So it was like I was trying to dig myself out of this hole, but the only thing that kept happening was the dirt and the sand and mud kept falling on me. So I was trying to get out, but I was still doing really shitty things. But at this point, I felt like it was okay because I was, you know, not in a relationship anymore, and I was free to fuck whoever the fuck I was interested in fucking. But guys, my 25s, I was a whore. I was a really big whore. But at the end of it, I appreciate it because I got it all out of my system. I was able to just fuck everybody and feel horrible about myself and feel empty and realize that that is not what I wanted to do. That is not what I want for my life. And while I had fun having sex with all of these guys, it is not who I am as a person. So on August of 2017, on August of 2018, I moved back to Phoenix because I felt like I was in a better place. I came back to Phoenix, and I've been back in Phoenix for the last 5 months, and I don't have sex with strangers anymore, though I do have a couple of fuck buddies here in Phoenix that I still fuck around with now and then whenever I like need sex. So that's been pretty cool. And honestly, I'm in a good place in my life now. I'm 27 now, and I'm going to college for psychology. I have a camera and I'm doing photography and I'm doing YouTube full time. I have accumulated everything that I own by myself with my own hard work and determination. I was able to turn this room that I'm in into my fucking safe space, my studio. Like, I'm at a good place. And I did come back to Phoenix, and I came back to my parents' house because, one, I don't really think that there's anything wrong with being at your parents'. I know I'm 27, and a lot of people are gonna say like, oh my god, you're 27 and you still live at your parents' house. One, I help them pay for rent. Two, I don't wanna live with strangers or roommates who are one day just gonna up and go and make me pay all the rent by myself. Like, I don't trust people anymore. It's really hard for me to trust a stranger. So like, why am I gonna put myself through going to live with a friend, roommate, or a stranger that I know nothing about with all of my expensive equipment, all of my computers, my laptops, my camera, lenses, for them to either fuck me over and move out, take my shit and sell it, or kill me. And so I figured, like, why not just be at my parents' house where I know my family, they've known me for the last 27 fucking years. We know what each other's about. It's a pretty big house. I have my own space, my own bedroom, and I help out. I help out when I can and with what I can. And right now, since I don't have a job, it's been kind of hard to help them. But my mom and my dad like me being here, and I like being here, to be honest. And until I find that one partner or that boyfriend that wants to live with me, then I'll move. But in the meantime, I'm in a situation where I'm happy with where I'm at, and I have a car and I can travel, and I'm going to college, and things are good, guys. Things are really, really good right now, and they have been good for the last year. And I don't know, I'm happy. I'm happy. And what else was I gonna say? I don't remember what I was gonna say. I'm trying to get to everything of how my life is now. Yeah, so yeah, that's my, oh yeah, one more thing. Relationships, not interested in them. I think my ex broke me to the point where like I wanted a relationship right after I broke up with him, but after like fucking the entire city of Long Beach and half the city of Phoenix, I realized that I can get my rocks off whenever I would like to with one of my fuck buddies, and I can get affection from them, and I can go back and do me. And I like that. I like that I'm happy with myself now. I like that I enjoy my own company. Like, guys, I never... Okay, so my thing is that I have not been in a relationship since I was like 15. So from 15 all the way to 25, I had been in different relationships, going from one relationship to another. Never really being by myself, never allowing myself to get to know me. And for the last 2 years, I have been getting to know me, and I'm fucking awesome. And I enjoy my own company. Like, I go eat by myself, I go to the movies by myself, I go to the malls by myself. The only thing that I can't really do by myself is travel. So I do take my brother to that with me, to travel with me, because one, he's my photographer, and two, I just don't like being awkward in places that I don't know. So, yeah, but other than that, I enjoy my own company, and I enjoy who I am as a person now, even though I'm still a little awkward with my stutter and I'm still a little antisocial. It's not because of my ex this time, it's just because I am a fucking creepy, awkward human being. But yeah, life is good now. I don't feel the need to get into a relationship. I don't feel the need to get into the relationship. That doesn't mean that I will stop myself from getting into a relationship. If I find somebody worth my time, I will give them the time and see where it goes. But honestly, I have not found anybody worth my time. I haven't found anybody worth me giving up the lifestyle that I've built up for myself the last 2 years. But until then, I'm perfectly fine with just doing bad all by myself and getting my rocks off and affection from the friends and fuck buddies that I've built up over the last year, 2 years. And until somebody sweeps me off my feet and makes me feel different than any of these guys have, or any of my exes have, then I'm gonna stay single. But yeah, you guys, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this long, uncut video. That's why I called my whole fucking series Life at 25. Because at 25, I went through the biggest breakup of my life, and it changed the course of my existence. It changed me as a person, not only for the better, but for the worse. And 25 was just one of those years where, like, it put everything into perspective, and I actually lit a fire in my ass to the point where now I'm here and I'm talking to you guys, and I've amassed everything that I've wanted, and I'm doing what I want to do, which is photography, videography, and editing, and it's all because of my ex. So thank you, ex, for, like Ariana Grande says, thank you next, but I'm gonna say thank you, ex, because it's true. Your exes do teach you a lot of shit, whether it's how to love or pain or whatever it may be. Your exes teach you sometimes good things, sometimes bad things, but they teach you something. And so thanks to my ex, I'm here now, and I'm doing what I want to do with my life, and I'm doing it for me and not for anybody else. And hopefully one day I can find somebody who supports me in what I'm doing and enjoys my photography and gasses me up, lifts me up, and supports me. But until then, I have myself to support, and my family supports me, and my friends support me, and that's honestly all that I can ask for. So guys, This is the last episode of Life at 25, but there's still another 6 episodes left in between those things. So, if you guys want to watch episodes 2 through 7, keep a lookout for those. Those are not going to come out until the next coming months, way down the line. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed my little life update of where I am at life right now. And now we can continue with our regularly scheduled life already in progress. So, moving on from this video, I am no longer going to discuss my past with my ex. This is where it's going to end. This is where it's going to stay. And we're just going to move on and deal with all the other fuckboys that are in my life right now, which are none really, but who knows? I'm going to college, so I might stumble upon a few fuckboys or maybe meet the love of my life. I don't fucking know. Anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was extremely long. I apologize for that, but then again, I don't apologize because I wanted to tell my story, and I didn't want to tell it in a way that was like overproduced and over-edited. I wanted to tell my story in the simplest of terms, and I also wanted to show me and my stutter, because it's a real thing, and I've never really actually shown my stutter before. It's something that I am kind of ashamed and embarrassed about, and it's still an insecurity of mine. But I want you guys to know, like, I'm not afraid to be open with you guys and be vulnerable with the world. And sometimes it's hard for me to say words, and sometimes I don't stutter at all. And that's just me. And if you're somebody who thinks I'm attractive and wants to go out with me regardless of my stutter and my 8 fingers, then fucking slide into my DMs and let's go out on a date. Alright guys, I want to thank you guys so much once again. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you guys coming and watching my videos. And if you've made it all the way through to this video, kudos to you, because filming it was a fucking bitch, so I can't imagine what it's gonna be like to watch it as a person. So, I hope you guys are having a good day and a good week and a good month and a good year and a good life, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!